1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic every Saturday morning, as promised. Whether you like it or not, we show up from 10 till noon Eastern Time right here on the Car Clinic Network, which comes to you from a center of the automotive universe, which is actually an all-digital, complete studio located inside a 15,000 square foot automotive service shop. This program is like 27 years that we have broadcast, I'm proud to say, and also our service facility is celebrating its 47th year in business. So we've seen that change of automobiles and the evolution to the point that it still amazes me that the new technology and the fact that we have these mechanical items like brakes and steering and stopping and autonomous, yeah, that's right, self-driving versus autonomous, which is the way I prefer to go, and to put that. All those things are being controlled by something that doesn't move, and that's a computer. There's nothing inside. It's hard to imagine. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Remember, your brakes used to work really well, right? Well, if it's taking longer to stop or your vibration, you visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Brake Deals event. Take advantage of the Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads or a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle isn't stopping like it used to, visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Brake Deals event. Take advantage of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is the leader in automotive thermostats and fuel and oil coolant caps. Motorrad's state-of-the-art quality control and functional testing systems ensure high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development, providing all the parts and accessories needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and closure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have spare money for them. When a heater core starts to fail, it can be costly depending on location, maybe $1,000 even. When a heater core leaks, it usually comes on gradually with a smell of coolant and a film on the glass that keeps returning. Common leaks are the glued seals on the plastic tanks. This represents a perfect opportunity to use K-Seal, as it can be poured into the cooling system and driven right away. And K-Seal remains in the system, so it can prevent future leaks as well. We recently used K-Seal on a Honda to stop a heater core leak. We never experienced the smell of coolant, but we had to regularly clean the inside windshield glass to remove that film. It doesn't take more than a few drops from a leaking heater core to cause an unsafe film on the glass. After using K-Seal, it stopped. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for tuning in today. Appreciate that. Every Saturday, as I mentioned at the open of the show, from 10 till noon, we come to you. There are 2 hours. Not every one of our Car Clinic affiliates airs both hours, and some of our Car Clinic affiliates will air this program at a later date or a later time, perhaps later on this afternoon, which is Saturday, or perhaps even as late as tomorrow. And you can also get this program through iTunes. You can subscribe, which I really like that because it gives everyone the opportunity to download this program just by subscribing, and you don't have to do anything yourself. It just downloads into your iTunes program and directly onto your phone or to your computer, depending on how you set your settings, of course, as you know. And then that allows you to tune into bits and pieces and fast forward and back up and all those sorts of things, and in case you missed an answer. And so much in radio, and I'm going to go to Walter. So Walter, thanks, you called in early. I will come to you first in just a minute. But so many times you hear on radio or even on television or even in a face-to-face conversation, heaven forbid, you hear bits and pieces, or you hear what you want to hear and what you didn't want to hear, you kind of, toss aside. Well, it's important that you realize that there are no black and white answers, yes or no answers, almost universally to a car question. To that end, the only dumb car question, just for those of you who, may feel intimidated or not quite know how to ask the question, the only dumb car question is the one that you don't ask. It's like going to a doctor, and when you leave the doctor, you said, gosh, I meant to ask him or her this question. And then you leave with your partner or your child or what have you, and you get home and you discuss all the things that you really should have written down. And when you go in, well, you don't have to write those down to come in here as you're listening to me now, which is a live program on Saturday morning at 13 after the hour. It's important for you to know that you call 888 Car Clinic, and Hannah will take your call and put you in the queue, and then I'll get to you and put you on air in due time. That's 888-227-2546, 888 Car Clinic. And we acquired that number to make it easier for you to remember, 888 Car Clinic. So when you're driving or when you're at home or when you have a particular problem with your automobile, or say your car's in the shop and it's going to take $2,500 or $3,000 to really get it back up to speed, is it really worth that? Is your car worth that kind of money, or is it not? I mean, even if your car is old, let's say it's 15 years old, let's say it has 150,000 miles or 200,000 miles on it, and all of a sudden a $4,000 bill crops up. The car's only worth $2,500. Is that car worth fixing or not? Well, here's how we put that, and here's how we believe in positioning that, because quite candidly, it's the only way you can. You can go out and buy another car like you have, a used car, for let's say $3,500, or you can spend $3,500 on your car, which is only worth really $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever, or nothing really, because it doesn't work. The point is, what you're doing in essence, if that's the scenario, you're buying your own car back. So if you look at the history of your car and you know the condition of your car and you know the transmission's been a little funky for the past year or so, and finally it goes out, now it's going to be $3,500 to install another one, or a used one, probably a used one with a guarantee now, a guarantee of at least a year. So you'll know that if you spend $3,500 on your car, you know the condition of all of that car, save the transmission, and of course now the $3,500 means that it's back up to par. You can take that same $3,500 or $4,000 or $5,000 and buy a used car. Well, who's to say that 2 weeks after you own that used car, remember it's used like yours, it's not going to have a transmission to go out. So that means that by buying your car back, you are ahead of the game. Does that make sense? And that's the way we try to look at it. And there are a lot of times when we have those scenarios that come up with our clients' cars here at Car Clinic Service, and we've been in that business for 47 years. we say don't spend the money on this car, because during our testing time, our annual inspections, or like our pre-purchase inspections that we do so many of, we find that there are a lot of other issues with that automobile, and we don't want you to spend $3,000 or $4,000 on your car to buy your car back, unless that means that the repair will outlast the repair bill. Because if you come back 2 months and said, oh, gosh, Bobby, I wish I hadn't spent that money on this car, because now the engine's got a noise in it, or now the differential's got a noise in it, or it needs all the brakes and all the rotors and all the. You see where I'm going? So we are very aware of the condition of your used car, especially when there are so many items that need attention. And we're probably the world's worst, probably the world's best. I'll rephrase that. My team is the world's best, and they are world-class, the best at determining the current condition of an automobile, even a car they've never seen before. So there's a lot of questions to be asked and a lot of answers, and I want to get on with that now. So Car Clinic is a call-in program. I want to welcome our newest Car Clinic affiliate, KDET, 9:30 a.m., live, local, and reaching out in Center, Texas. A special shout out to KDET General Manager Lori Alvis and to Rockin' Program Director Jesse Jacobs. We're mighty proud, folks, to be on your air. And for all of you KDET listeners, call me now at 888 Car Clinic, and let's talk about cars. Your cars, of course. And if you're thinking about buying a new or used car, getting your car or truck ready for spring, or maybe your current vehicle is suffering from brake, or as I said earlier, a transmission or engine problem, call me at 888 Car Clinic and let me help you make an intelligent, educated decision. To that end, 888 Car Clinic. Let's go to Walter. Walter, thank you for holding, and thanks for calling in early. I'll turn the mic to you. Welcome again to Bobby Likis, Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
And happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you. Thank you so much.
I'd like to talk about my daughter's 2014 Cherokee.
Okay, what's up?
I live in Lakeland. She lives in Phoenix. So this is hearsay, problem diagnosis. When she bought it new, there was a lag in acceleration. In other words, from a stop, she'd press on the gas pedal,
right,
and it would start to go, and then it would just bog down and lag for a half a second or so, and then pick up and go. But the engine never changed RPM. She put up with it for a while, complained to the dealer. He said, it's just the way you're driving. Later, we found out in June of 16, at 29,000 miles, that Chrysler had issued a recall on that transmission because they had some developmental problems that never really got worked out in that 9-speed unit.
Right.
So they replaced it. Now at 56,000 miles, she continues to have some of that same kind of problem. I'm just wondering your thoughts on it.
Well, number one, I think she should go back. I'd like to back way up to when she first got the car, because so many people will buy a new car, and then it's little. Well, it doesn't work as well as they thought it would. Now, that's really not prevalent today because the technology has evolved to the point that it's almost impossible, literally, to buy a bad new car. Now, the technology, of course, I love technology, and so I'm pro new car. And I found myself taking that position because I've repaired so many used cars in my lifetime, thousands of them. And so I lean toward the new. I've always said that if you drive the new off of a car and then it becomes a used car, you have to replace the new to put back on. But let's go back. to the meat of the story. Whenever, and this is for everyone tuned in that buys a new car, whenever a service manager at that dealership tells you that, oh, it's the way you drive. I mean, I was taken aback by that, and I'm not going to slam dealers because that's not my nature, Walter. But I will tell you, when someone tells you, oh, that's the way they all do that, and so many times there may be some idiosyncrasies in new cars, and they may all do that. They may all have a bell that rings, or a whatever that rings, or the doors lock when you go 4 miles an hour or something like that. Well, they all do that. Well, yeah, there are settings, but the fact is, whenever you and your daughter, if I had talked to her a couple of years ago, I would have suggested that she go to that dealership, to that same service manager, and gosh, there's a hard break coming up, Walter. Excuse me, and folks, I'm going to turn the mic over to the break. When I come back, I'll finish the rest of this story. You don't touch that dial. Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car battery is what keeps it all going. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. Choose a battery with PowerFrame grid technology inside. It's engineered with confidence to keep you going longer. That means you can trust your battery with PowerFrame to be there start after start. Visit Advance Auto Parts or CarQuest for a battery with PowerFrame grid technology, or learn more at powerframe.com.
I am for the child who lives in motels, cars, and shelters. The child finally put in foster care, a group home, where he sleeps not on a bed, but a temporary cot. That is the child I am for. And because I am, he'll be that much more likely to find a safe, permanent home. I am a court-appointed special advocate volunteer. I am you.
Lift up a child's voice, a child's life. Get involved at casaforchildren.org.
This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Folks, if you drive a 2004 through 08 Ford Explorer, Expedition, F-Series, Mustang, or Lincoln Navigator, and are ready for new spark plugs, here's a tip that could save you thousands of dollars. On the V8 3-valve engines, the spark plug's extended tip can break off during replacement and cause serious engine damage. Here's what we do. We perform a fuel injection carbon removal service, which softens the hardened deposits. Then let the vehicle sit overnight. Next day, we carefully remove all plugs and install new ones, along with new ignition coils. We've learned that to do this job right and ensure our customers' engines aren't damaged, we must take time up front or risk engine teardown later on. Our local O'Reilly Auto Parts store supplies all parts and injector cleaners too. Whether you have your spark plugs replaced by a technician or decide to do it yourself, make sure you take the time to do it right. This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're talking with Walter, whose daughter has an issue with a 2014 Jeep transmission. So Walter, let's backtrack and recap. Number one, whenever you buy or anyone buys a new car and you have something on that car that doesn't seem right, especially when a service person tells you that you're not driving this car right. Well, I mean, there are many ways to drive a car, but I don't know how you could drive a car wrong. Well, I do know how you could drive a car wrong, but when I say that, how could your daughter possibly cause a car to lag or lull or stall or not accelerate when she steps on the accelerator, because that's what cars do. That's what a throttle is for. It opens the throttle, the engine has power, and the transmission launches the car. That's why you have first gear, second gear, and in her case, as you said, the 9-speed transmission. So to that end, whenever that happens, folks, here's what you do. If they all do that, then fine. Go to the service director and say, let's go get a car off your lot, another new car like mine, same engine and same transmission, and drive it and see if it does what my car does. And if it does, and you say, let's drive another. So next thing you know, of course, that never happens. And I rarely use the word never, but whenever your car has a particular problem that is unusual or certainly not normal, and you drive another car, the other car's not going to do that. If that's the case, then maybe you shouldn't buy that vehicle at all if they all don't accelerate. And engines today and cars today with the transmission, especially as you said, Walter, with the multiple gear ratios that this vehicle has, the Jeep has. So that's my first thought with regard to your daughter's situation. And then she drove that car, and sure enough, after driving that car, there was a problem with the transmission. They replaced the transmission, and now twice the mileage down the road, that she's having that same issue again. Is that an overview of what happened?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Well, then I say that she has to. And what has the dealer? Has she been back to the dealer now again?
She's been to 3 dealers, and they all seem confused and unable to come to a conclusion about where to go from here.
Well, do they agree that there's an issue? Have they driven her car?
Yes.
And do they agree?
But they just don't seem to come up with what might be an appropriate solution to get rid of the lag.
But do they agree there is a lag there?
Yes.
Well, tell me how much sense that makes at 3 different dealerships. That doesn't make sense. That
I know.
You can even if you've had 0 problems with an automobile, you could go to 3 different dealerships or 3 different shops and get 3 different opinions or 6 different opinions. So that really doesn't make sense. What is their answer?
Well, I'm wondering if there's a way that she can go to start going up to the district level or the manufacturer level and
sure.
get.
Sure. If she looks in the owner's manual, there will be a number to call for corporate office with regard to unhappy or complaints, and then there's also the lemon law. But I would not recommend that she go in that direction because there are certain requirements that your car has to be within the shop for a certain length of time. So yeah, I would suggest to her that she has number one a face-to-face visit with someone at the dealership that gets in touch with a manufacturer's rep. That's what I would say. And you know, Walter, I would, in closing, say this. She could go online and look for complaints, and you can find anything that you really want to find online. And I find most blogs or forums informative but not conclusive. And to that end, I don't know of any automobile, maybe one, in the past 10 years of the multiple automobiles that we've worked on that I've ever found the answer that was relevant to my particular case or my customer's case and actually fix the vehicle. You can find anything online, but that still will not put you ahead of the game and solve the problem. That's what I like to do with this radio program. So in leaving, I will say this, or in closing, Walter, I think she should call me and have your daughter call me and let me school her on what to say and how to position this to, and then I'll have questions to ask her, and then I'll cut you'll quit being the middleman, and I can get more information just by the questions that I'll ask her that I don't know what they would be until I have a conversation with her, and I'll be glad to do that for you, okay?
All right. That'd be great, Bobby.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Yeah, that's the best way to go forward. Hey, thanks for your call and good luck, and I look forward to. What's your daughter's name?
Susan.
Susan. Okay, Susan, from what state you said she was from?
She lives in Phoenix.
In Phoenix. Okay. I look forward to hearing from her any day, any Saturday. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you.
888-227-2546. 888 Car Clinic. Again, I want to welcome another new affiliate that recently had to partner with us, and that's a real 100,000 watt powerhouse, KKLS 104.7 FM and 920 AM in Rapid City, South Dakota. So, folks, if that's your neck of the woods, let us hear from you at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Hannah will take your call and put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. So now's a good time to come to get in. I am going to share with you information, and I started to share this with Walter, but it's ironic that he would call me and talk about an issue with his daughter's Jeep, with the fact that it didn't hesitate or it didn't accelerate right, but that since there was a problem with her transmission, I wouldn't want to position this product by Superchips to fix a problem, because it's not meant to fix a problem. Sometimes I find myself in a situation to where, and I do solve a lot of solutions and present a lot of solutions to our listening audience with different products. In other words, if you got a radiator that's leaking, then or a head gasket or what have you on one of those old cars that's not worth the money to repair, then you can use K-Seal to stop the cooling system. Well, is that a promotion, or is that a solution? It is a solution. Because in our service shop, we, again, as I mentioned the earlier part of the show, we have cars that come in that need more work than what that car is worth, many, many times. So we're selective, and we help our customers choose and cherry pick which items that they want to fix on that particular car, because to fix everything, to make it new in any car, is you can't do that. You cannot do that unless the owner has kept that car up the way I keep my car. So that whenever something goes out, you fix it. Whenever anything goes out, you fix it. And that way, you never get behind the curve. Does that make sense? 888 Car Clinic, and your questions, and I'll answer your questions. But I want to get back to the amped throttle sensitivity booster. What is that? Think about it. Amped throttle sensitivity booster. I'll position it this way. And this is by Superchips. It's a product that maybe Walter's daughter could have used on her Jeep, because it does fit a Jeep. But it's not, as I said, to repair an automobile. It's to take the vehicle that you have and bump up and amp up the performance of it. So, and think about this. There's drive-by-wire is how our cars accelerate. There's no throttle cable that goes to the throttle anymore. It's drive-by-wire. So to make it really simple, there's a potentiometer, just like turning the volume up on a radio or dimming your lights in your den. That's a potentiometer, which controls voltage. So the manufacturers, when they make a car, they try to make that throttle linear, which means that if you let's say that the throttle, your gas pedal, has I don't know, what's a normal gas pedal? 3 inches, 4 inches of travel? Let's say 4 inches. And it could be more, but let's just say it's 4 inches. Well, then is 2 inches from the rest position, and you depress it 2 inches, is that half throttle? Well, maybe. Maybe it is, and maybe it should be. But wouldn't it be great if you could amp that up? And that's what Superchips has done. And to my understanding of how this product works, and I was so, and I just learned of this week because it's a new product, but I was so interested in how that works, because it improves the throttle sensitivity, it's faster acceleration from a stop and throughout the RPM band. It reduces that laggy pedal feeling that some drive-by-wire cars really have. It's a quicker spool up, and it optimizes driving in town and on the highway. So think about it. There's a push button control. There's 6 different modes, and it's called Super Chips Amped Throttle Sensitivity Booster, and it's for gas trucks and SUVs and Jeeps. So that's why when Walter called about his daughter's Jeep, she had the transmission issue, but it just might be that this could solve that problem, and that's why I wanted to speak with her, because if the Super Chips Amped Throttle unit, which would bolt onto her Jeep, plug into her Jeep, would make that car drive to her satisfaction, then her life would be better, and her car would run better, and she would be happier. And her dad, who lives in, and she's in Arizona, lives in Lakeland, the whole family would be happy. So for more information, you can go to superchips.com. But I'd like to also add this. In the 70s, when Mercedes-Benz sold 240 diesels, you remember that? I don't know how many of you remember that. You talk about sleds. Those cars, they had no turbocharger. So a 240 diesel, 2.4 diesel, was about the slowest vehicle you could think of. I mean, you could just nail the throttle and it would just ease right off. But here's what Mercedes-Benz did to try to offset some of that lack of power, because it had no turbocharger. They made and designed the throttle so that at a quarter of a throttle depressed, you were depressing the throttle itself 3/4 of the way. So the car didn't feel like that it was as doggy as it really was, because it gave the driver the feeling like, wow, if I just depress the quarter of the throttle and it feels this way, imagine what it would be if I really nailed the throttle. And so that's what this amp does from Super Chips electronically, and I guarantee it's got to be great. Well, I see that Rebecca Waldmeyer is on the line. She's a GMC color and trim design from General Motors. When we come back, I have some questions for her and your call to 888 Car Clinic.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with power frame technology inside. Look for power frame on the outside and know there's true strength on the inside.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets. They're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Get ready to call 888 Car Clinic and I'll help you with your car challenges. The New York International Auto Show is in full swing at the Jacob Javits Convention Center in Manhattan. And coming fresh off the reveal of the next generation Sierra Denali and SLT in Detroit, GMC will announce the next chapter of the 2019 Sierra in New York. GMC is also adding contemporary style and expanded choice to its premium SUV lineup with the introduction of the 2009 Acadia and Terrain Black editions. With me on the Car Clinic hotline now is Rebecca Waldmeyer, GMC Color and Trim Design Manager. Rebecca, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it being on the show.
Got to be exciting. GMC's been on a roll so far in 2018 with a recent introduction of the 19 Sierra pickup in Detroit, and now a number of special edition SUVs this week in New York. From a color and trim perspective, share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers what makes this new Sierra so special.
So the great thing about color and trim is we're responsible for selecting and designing all of the exterior and interior finishes that you see on the vehicle. And with the AT4 launching is with the color and trim materials we chose, we really gave the vehicle a distinct look. It is our most premium, capable off-road truck, and we were able to do some really dark finishes on the exterior that are a signature black chrome. And we took that all the way into the interior to really give it this athletic look with a premium leather interior, authentic dark aluminum finishes, and also dark accents that go with the exterior.
Well, so Rebecca, how important are trim options and accessories and tech to the high-end truck buyer?
It is extremely important, and the great thing about color and trim is we are able to use these different finishes to give each trim level a distinct look. If you take a look at the Denali, the color that we have on the show stand, it was designed specifically for that truck. We made sure that with the amount of metallic that was in it and the way that the color moves, that you can really show off the body sidelines of the truck. And it really complements the chrome finishes that we have on the wheel and the grille also.
Well, let's move from the interior and the grille to the back of the vehicle. The new Sierra with the GMC exclusive industry-first multi-pro tailgate. What's a multi-pro tailgate?
So the multi-pro tailgate is a multifunctional gate that is that's for our customers in order to make it easier for them when they're using their vehicle to bring things into it. I think you've seen the video, which is pretty awesome, that you can step into the bed of the truck, whether you're going to Home Depot, Lowe's on the job site, or you're just trying to take it out for play. So it's really awesome.
We're talking with Rebecca Waldmeyer, GMC Color and Trim Design Manager. Rebecca, the SUV segment is really hot, and GMC is offering a number of new special editions, Terrain and Acadia models there at the New York Auto Show. Fill us in on the new GMC Black Edition.
Yeah, so the Black Editions is something that my team has worked on, and they came to us, GMC, saying we want a really cool stealth-looking exterior, something different that we offer on any other of our trim levels. And so, we looked at ways that we could take down some of the chrome finishes. We did black exterior grills, black wheels. Even on the Terrain, we did the badging that's along the body side and in the rear in black. So when you get up to it, it's really cool looking, really expressive, and something different that you would get on a Denali or an SLT.
So the GMC models really are the special edition models. The Black Editions set it apart from the competition and the standard GMC models. Is there a site that our Car Clinic listeners and viewers might go to so they can get some pictures of this new edition vehicles?
If you go to gmc.com, they should have images that show what we launched at the show or things that we just released, and we'll take you to our media site from there.
Great. That's terrific. I'm excited to see them myself. We're talking with Rebecca Waldmeyer, GMC Color and Trim Design Manager. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us from the Automotive Show today, and great to have you on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Great. Yes, thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the way that that Black Edition. That's a beautiful vehicle. If you go to the GMC.com site and take a look at that, and that International Auto Show that's going on now is just a showcase and a show place for all of the OEMs. And to that end, I want to share with you what Jaguar has done recently. I think it's really interesting to see the technology, the way it's going, and you know, it's we all hear, well, what is technology and how can that help you? It's what we do with the technology and that really makes a difference. It's how it protects us, and cars are safer. I heard this week recently on the radio, right here on, not my radio, but on the radio, where someone said that new cars are not as safe because they have to meet the MPG, and it, quite candidly, it was a politician who really was not educated in the subject of cars. And because anyone that would make a statement that the car that we buy today is not as safe to drive as the car that we bought its predecessor, really is not in tune with what's going on with new cars these days. And to that end, a self-driving automobile, even though unfortunately there was a recent death involving an Uber car. We're all familiar with that. We've heard about that. The bottom line is the car that self-drives itself will outperform, from a safe standpoint, humans, hands down. There's no question about that, because we don't have eyes in the back of our head, the side. We don't have eyes 360 degrees around. Now, did that car see that bicyclist? Because the person that was riding in the car, if you've looked at that video, you'll see that she didn't see it because she wasn't looking up. But then when she did look up, there was it was too late, because the car was just about to hit, or at that same time hit the bicyclist. The bottom line, those particular LIDAR and radar, which is the lasers and radars and units that self-driving cars have, is far sophisticated and far outweighs what we as humans can do, reaction time and those sorts of things. Now, was that Uber, had they turned off that feature? Well, who knows? Maybe that will come to light a little bit later on. But overall, I'm definitely for self-driving cars, because it makes the car that I buy, the next new car that I buy, that much safer. Because not because it will drive itself, but because, yes, it will give me a warning. It has the wherewithal to help me be a better driver, par none. So, and let me invite you to call. I'm sorry, I meant to do that earlier. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. A new partnership. This is Waymo, which is formerly known as Google's self-driving car project, but it's now Waymo, teamed up with Jaguar Land Rover, and they fit their new I-Pace SUV for the complete driving autonomy. And so the Uber, as I mentioned, has kind of hit a roadblock. Others are pressing ahead with efforts to get autonomous vehicles into action. And Waymo, when it teamed up to Jaguar Land Rover, plans to put 20,000 newly designed self-driving cars on the road over the next few years. They're being billed as the world's first premium electric self-driving SUVs. And that was announced earlier this week. The partnership sees Waymo team up with Jaguar Land Rover, and it officially revealed the all-electric I-Pace, which has a massive range, get this folks, of 240 miles and can be charged to 80% in just 40 minutes using a 100 kilowatt rapid charger. So has there been enough testing? Well, this month, Waymo clocked up its 5 millionth mile of autonomous vehicle testing on public roads. But if everything goes to plan with this new venture, things are about to ramp up significantly from there. And with these plans to add 20,000 new Jaguar I-Paces to its fleet in the next few years, Waymo says that those alone will be able to complete 1 million trips in a typical day. What do you think about that? I think that's amazing. 888-227-2546. Let's talk about gas mileage and gas prices. So gas prices first. The average U.S. regular gasoline price is $2.64.8. That's a national average. The highest price is $3.27 on the Gulf Coast, on the West Coast, not the Gulf Coast, the West Coast. What is the Gulf Coast? I'll say in just a minute. It's $2.31. And here's the significant fact about gas prices. If you look at prices today versus 1 week ago, over the 9-10 regions of the United States, they're all higher than this time last week. But let's go back a year. If you look at the same time this day as compared to the same time this day 1 year ago, in every region of the United States, gas prices are higher. So that's not a trend, that's a fact. So when you look at gas prices that are that $3.27 on the West Coast, if you remember back 3-4 years ago, we were at some places $4.50. Well, in a place in Alaska, it was $6.17, as I remember. But that was sort of up in the mountains and a rural area that they had to truck a lot of fuel, all the fuel up there. So there was a lot of expense to get the fuel up there, and it was $6 and some odd cents. You'd think you're in the UK or somewhere. But the bottom line, when we see gas prices approaching the fours, which we will surely see sooner or later, then because what goes down will come back up. So when we see that, you will see some of the SUVs that are being that are really SUVs and trucks are being sold right now. People are buying those left and right. You'll see that fall off, and then the less expensive or higher MPG, which are usually the less expensive spec cars, we call them, will be more prevalent in sales. But the bottom line is the manufacturers, the OEMs, they're going to fish where the fish are biting. So if we're buying trucks and SUVs, they're going to make them. And so to that end, you're seeing a lot of trucks and SUVs, just like the GM designer said earlier, the black edition of those SUVs is really just another way to appeal to the same market, but to drill down a little deeper into that same market. Interesting. I try to bring you information that is interesting. And here's another fact about self-driving cars. Tata Motors and a joint venture between Goldstone Infratech and BYD have bagged the electric bus supply contracts of 9 cities. And they just left the rivals companies empty-handed here. But this is in India, and the government of India is taking initiatives for e-vehicles with its FAME, which is faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles in India. And under this scheme, 60% subsidy is provided to cities for procuring e-vehicles earlier as a complete purchase or on supply operate basis. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that whether they rent them or they buy them. But basically, in India, air pollution has reached a point to where they have to eliminate the ICE, the internal combustion engines. Now, do you think we'll ever see the end of internal combustion engines? No, not in our lifetime. I really don't think that we will. Number one, I really enjoy the V8 thunderous, guttural sound that my car makes when I get into the throttle. And I like the torque. I like that seat of the pants pull away. And I mentioned the super chips today. That's all about performance. So if you got a GM car or a Jeep or a Ford, the super chips tuner will increase your horsepower. In fact, they have one tuner application for the Ford EcoBoost, the 3.5 EcoBoost, that adds 116 horsepower without opening the hood. Think about that. So that tells me that the manufacturers that are selling us those cars and delivering those cars to us are holding something back. Well, sure they are. Well, how do you think that every year the same car comes out with this year's edition, 15 or 16 more horsepower, 2 more or 10 more foot-pounds of torque? That's because with any given engine, from the manufacturers, you can always bump up the horsepower as the car is delivered to you and me. Why is that? Why don't they give us all the horsepower and all the torque? Well, number one, the manufacturers have to provide those cars for 50 states. Okay, here we go now. For all 50 states, that those cars can run efficiently and emissions free as possible. You know, it's all about particulate. They sell cars by particulate matter and emissions, not by horsepower. And that's a fact. So that allows and enables aftermarket companies like Superchips to provide a program and a tuner that will reach into the architecture of that electronics and bump up the torque and bump up the horsepower. So it's really, really way cool. It is you know, if you're waiting on something to come out, you don't have to wait long, because whether the manufacturers make it or the aftermarket bumps up the power, it's a supply and demand, and good for us. It's a buyer's market, I can tell you that. 888 Car Clinic is the number, from 10 to noon every Saturday. Bobby Likis Car Clinic comes to you from the center of the automotive universe. In the center of the automotive universe is our all-digital studios, located where? Inside a full-service, 15,000 square foot automotive service facility celebrating 47 years of automotive service. That's all the time that we have for this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Another great hour coming up. So if you've been tuning in and not calling in, you get ready. When we come back to you after the top of the hour at 888 Car Clinic, it'll be your turn. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology, which helps maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, carburetors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. According to Kirtland, Berryman B12 Chem Tool is an essential tool for all my engine needs. I keep a can around to keep the carbs clean on my tractor, lawnmowers, and especially my 68 Camaro. This is an awesome product. You can learn more about Berryman products and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Buick sedan with sniffed like new grip condition lemurs. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And I want to welcome you to this special edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. That's right, it's a special edition. Every show is a special. Don't you love it? I mean, you know, Fabio's laughing. Fabio, why are you laughing at me? I mean, really? I don't know. You don't know? Well, so Fabio and Jonathan and Hannah, our Car Clinic Network team, will help put your calls on the air, and I will help you with your car challenges, although I can't fix your car over the air, obviously, but I can give you buzzwords so that when you go to the local car doctor or the car service shop, whether it's a dealership or an independent or a chain store, you know the right questions to ask. That's really what I'm here for. So let's get on with it. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Miss Hannah will take your call, put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Remember how well your brakes used to work? If it's taking longer to stop, visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Brake Deals event. Take advantage of O'Reilly's Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Your calls when I come back. Get in the queue at 888-227-2546. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you're going to love us. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries. Joe touched on why many of today's vehicles are better suited for this technology. Let's hear from Joe.
Certain attributes that make your vehicle a good candidate for an AGM battery really depend on the electrical demands that are placed on the battery within your vehicle, as well as potentially the vehicle application, such as start-stop. Most vehicles manufactured in recent years actually contain more than 150 electrical accessories, including backup cameras, navigation systems, even power windows, which are part of our everyday lives. Our AGM batteries are manufactured to meet these electrical demands. Additionally, if you have something in your car such as start-stop technology, you need an AGM battery to help ensure you are effectively powering your vehicle during the stop event.
Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are precision engineered to meet the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. Learn more at autobatteries.com. Talking tunes. No, not the ones on your radio. The ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on another benefit associated with automotive tuning and efficiency. Let's hear how tuning your vehicle can lead to increased fuel economy.
Superchips tuning essentially increases your vehicle's timing. It allows the truck or the car, the SUV or Jeep to run in a higher gear, and it improves the process which we call atomization, which is essentially it turns bulk liquid into spray, and when you achieve this, you increase fuel pressure and you increase your fuel economy. So as a result, you can run the vehicle in a higher gear with advanced timing, and you get a more complete burn. We've done extensive road and dyno testing to validate these claims, and it really impacts the bottom line for the consumer with the Superchips Flashback.
Find your perfect tune at superchips.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Let's get started with this hour, and we're going to go to Al. Actually, we're going to go to Don, who called in first. But before we do, I want to welcome Car Clinic's newest affiliate, KDET, 9:30 a.m., live, local, and reaching out in Center, Texas. A special shout-out to KDET General Manager Lori Alvis and to the Rockin' Program Director, Jesse Jacobs. We're really proud to be on your air, and for all of you KDET listeners, you can call me now. Here's the challenge with that. 888 Car Clinic. The challenge is that this program that you're hearing right now is airing sometime between 3 and 4 p.m. Was that what the time was, that Fabio, as you remember? So you folks there in Center, Texas, just understand this. Next Saturday from 9 to 11, which is Central Time, 10 to noon Eastern Time, this program will be live. So put it in your computer banks and make it a date to call me, and I'll help you with your car questions. It's that simple at 888 Car Clinic. Again, 10 till noon Eastern Time, 9 to 11 Central, and so on and so forth across the Pacific, 7 to 9 in California for our California audiences and our Washington state audience. We come to you every Saturday. So remember, 888-227-2546 or 888 Car Clinic. I invite you and your calls. So let's go to Don in New York. Don, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, good morning, Bobby, and welcome to the cold confines of northern New York. How are you this morning?
I'm probably warmer than you, but I got to tell you, you have beautiful summers. I've been in New York in the summer with all the greenery and all the trees, and for a lot of my younger days in my life, when I thought of New York, I just thought of New York City and, the city in Manhattan and the traffic and all the great places to dine and visit and the shows and what have you. But New York is a beautiful state. But let's talk about cars. What can I do for you?
Okay. My son has a 2008 Honda CR-V with about 83,000 miles. It's a little four-cylinder car.
Right.
And the issue is I went to check the oil for him the other day. I can't get that dipstick out. It comes up about a half an inch very easily, and then jams. And I've looked on the internet. It seems like there's maybe 6 or 8 inches down the dipstick, there's a plastic, like a little neck or something.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that's binding inside the tube or the block. Because it is solid. You raise it about half inch, and that is it. And I have put oil down the tube.
Right. Well,
to try to loosen it.
Yeah, sure.
But that's not working.
Well, okay. So here's what has to be done. It's got to come out. I mean, that's
right.
To check your oil is a must. So in the meantime, change oil and filter and make sure that the right amount of refill with the filter has been changed, and that way he can go this 3,000 to 5,000 miles and not have to worry about it. But he needs to find a shop that's familiar with that particular Honda, and that shouldn't be a problem because nothing really special about that vehicle except that it runs really well. Those cars last really well, and you're going to have to pull on the dipstick and either break it or get it out. I mean, it's got to.
Okay.
So I know that you don't want to be the one to break it, but hey, it's either you or the shop. And here's the bottom line: what we'll have what they'll have to do is they'll have to, at the worst, pull the pan, and at the least, replace the dipstick tube and the dipstick. I can't imagine that the dipstick has been interfered with in the bottom and bent, because even if it were bent, you could, like a zipper, you could pull it out and maybe not unbend it, but it would still pull through the dipstick. So you're right, that plastic or some part of that inside seal has broken, but you just have to lay in there and it's got to come out. So either you can do it or a local shop can do it. And if you break it, you break it, but nothing's going to fall back down in the pan, so you're not going to cause any issues. Any other questions?
Okay. No, that'll do it.
Okay.
I really appreciate your help on that.
Thank you. Thanks for your call. Have a great day.
All right, Bobby. Thank you.
888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call. 888-227-2546. Go to Al. Al, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby.
Sir?
You hear me okay?
I can. What can I do for you?
Okay. First of all, good morning from Daytona Beach, one of your flagship stations.
Yes,
over here,
sir. Yes, sir.
And my question, since you've been talking about performance and different things this morning about, horsepower.
Right.
I was wondering, because I'm 66 years old.
Okay.
I've been around a long time, and these new cars, a friend of mine's got a 2016 Equinox with the 3.6 normally aspirated V6.
Okay.
That's rated at 300 horsepower.
I know.
And okay, back in say like the late 60s with the 426 Hemi, it was rated at 425.
Right.
We're talking a lot of horsepower from a small engine. So my question is the way they rate horsepower today the same as it was done 20, 30, 40 years ago?
Absolutely. Now,
okay.
But understand this, that Equinox, as the Hemi, well, the answer to your question, maybe not, because, or at least not in the way that we understand it. Horsepower rating is an engine on a dyno without the parasitic draw. So if you took and also horsepower rating is at the crankshaft, whereas in the aftermarket industry, we rate horsepower to the rear wheels. So let's set up baseline. Let's say that V6, normally aspirated, probably got 11.5 to 1 compression, or 11 to 1 probably, at least. My car's a normally aspirated 5-liter, which is only 300 cubic inches, and it's rated at 385 horsepower. And but the torque is unbelievable. It's probably 375 or 380 or maybe 400 in torque. But the bottom, which is that seat of the pants, feel of power. But we take an engine like the engine you're talking about, 300 horsepower. It rated that on the dyno. That means the engine is not pulling an alternator, an air conditioner, of course fan engines don't use fans anymore, but it's not pulling, and nor does it have any parasitic draw. So you put that 300 horsepower in an engine, and then you have the alternator that hooks up to it, and that takes horsepower away. To the point,
air conditioning and
air conditioning horsepower.
Accessories removed.
Beg pardon?
The horsepower ratings with any accessory of the engine removed.
That is correct. And that horsepower is not to the rear wheel, so it's not what drives the car or pushes the car. I mean, if you got
losing transmission, your torque converter.
Right. And let me give you an example of be more specific. A 412 rated horsepower 5-liter Mustang will deliver to the rear wheels 356 horsepower. Only 356 horsepower. I know this because several years ago we put a cold air intake system on a 5-liter Mustang. We put a tuner kit on the engine. We put didn't put exhaust, didn't do anything. Yeah, we did. We put catback system. We put I think it was a Corsa, a catback system, which means we still had the cats on the car, so it's stock. We put a cold air intake. We put synthetic oil in it, and not only in the engine, but in the transmission and differential. And that car delivered 390, I'm trying to think, 44, 50, 399 horsepower, 396, to the rear wheels. I mean, it was a whale of an improvement, but it was still under the 412 horsepower that when this, and this was it's a customer of ours, and the past CO of the Naval Air Station here, he bought this car just to play with. And I can tell you, he bought a car that had 412 horsepower, but even after our modifications, which were all external, it still only produced 390 9 to the rear wheels. So that's what you have to realize. Unlike, and it's like a NASCAR engine. A NASCAR engine will produce 850 horsepower, 368 cubic inches. 850 horsepower through a one opening, or a like a carburetor, but they use injectors now. That same engine only has 400 horsepower available with a restrictor plate, because those restrictor holes are 29-30 seconds per hole. So just think about that, and that's what you have to realize. Hey, thanks for your call. And by the way, I see Todd Pollock from Cadillac is on the phone. We'll go to him when we come back from the break. Thank you, Al, for your call. And folks, don't touch that dial. In fact, call in at 888 Car Clinic.
I am for the child who lives in motels, cars, and shelters. I am for him. The child who was finally put in foster care, a group home, where everything he owns is kept in a plastic garbage bag, as black as the tar heroin that killed his dad. I am for that child. So I am there for that child, to listen to him, to speak for him, to champion without compromise what's in his best interest. Because if I am, he will be half as likely to languish in foster care, and that much more likely to find a safe, permanent home. That is the child I am for. I am a court-appointed special advocate volunteer. I am you.
Lift up a child's voice, a child's life. Get involved at casaforchildren.org.
Folks, cold winters can cause batteries to lose their cold cranking amps and ability to start a vehicle. Make sure you have your battery tested and, if needed, replaced with an AGM. AGM batteries maintain more charge over time, better suited for start-stop systems, and if your battery tests low, make sure you check the alternator as well. An extreme cold followed by extreme heat can diminish battery life. Frequently jump-starting your battery or letting a vehicle just sit idle for days at a time can also slowly reduce your battery's power and effectiveness, risking a dead battery. The Bosch S6 high-performance AGM battery is more resilient to the constant demands of start-stop systems and vehicles with high electronic demands. If you're like me, always charging multiple devices, listening to the radio, enjoying all the technology and electronics in your vehicle, upgrading your battery to a Bosch AGM unit is a must-do to keep your vehicle running at its best and ensure you have battery power, always. To find an AGM battery for your vehicle, go to BoschAutoParts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Folks, one of the most highly anticipated auto shows of the year is set to take place in New York, the New York International Auto Show. From General Motors, Cadillac, and GMC is making some exciting news, including the reveal of the first ever Cadillac XT4 premium compact SUV. On the hotline with me now is Todd Pollock, Cadillac XT4 Chief Engineer. Todd, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk about the new XT4.
Yes, and we're excited to hear about it. So, Todd, I understand that this is the first ever, the XT4 Premium Compact SUV. Give us some more information on that new vehicle.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. It's an all-new vehicle for Cadillac in the fastest-growing segment in the luxury area, which is the compact SUV segment. It's growing in North America, it's growing in China, it's growing in Europe, so we're excited to join it. What are we doing different? We're providing an entry-level compact SUV that's just a touch larger. The feedback we got from our customers was they wanted a little bit more second-row room, so we made the vehicle just a little bit larger, and we increased the track width versus our competitors to really provide a strong, confident Cadillac ride.
And so, Todd, for the powertrain, give us an overview of what engines are available in that vehicle.
Sure will. We're starting production with a brand new 2-liter turbo, and I'm very excited about this new engine. It's really a new approach for us on developing and engineering an engine. Instead of going for advertised max horsepower, we're going for drivability. And so we've designed it to have a really, really flat available torque curve. So from 1,450 all the way to 4,000 engine RPM, you get max 258 foot-pounds of torque. But then it doesn't just drop off there. All the way to 5,000 engine RPM, you get 97% of the torque. So from 1,450 all the way to 5,000, you're at 97% of the torque. So all the way through the whole driving range, customers are able to experience, the full torque of the engine. You match that with a 9-speed transmission that keeps you right in the sweet spot, and it's a really, really fun drive.
Now, Todd, you mentioned sweet spot, and that's one of the favorite terms that I like to use on air. Explain the sweet spot to our audience, and also how this vehicle can come on the sweet spot so early in the RPM. That's a feat.
It is a feat. So there's a bunch of new technology in this engine. The primary one here to help with both fuel economy and power is a 3-step sliding camshaft. It's got 3 modes, both a 2-cylinder AFM. So this 4-cylinder goes into 2-cylinder mode in the correct conditions for maximum fuel economy. And then it has a low lift and a high lift mode. So it provides power when you need it. It provides fuel economy when you need it, which is a really great combination, a first for an engine in this segment.
So the engine delivers the power, and of course the 9-speed transmission connects that road speed and the engine speed to keep that engine. And folks, that's really important to know, that if an engine likes to trot along at a certain RPM and you can keep that engine in that certain RPM range, you get MPG, you get torque, you get power, and clean air. I imagine the emissions are reduced as well. Is that right, Todd?
Yeah, they absolutely are. So that you're right on the 9-speed transmission with the technology in this engine. The flat torque curve provides power on demand, and then also provides great fuel economy. So we're expecting up to 30 miles per gallon highway on our label for this engine, which is a really competitive package given that torque I just talked about in this compact SUV from Cadillac.
We're talking with Todd Pollock, Cadillac XT4 Chief Engineer. So give us an inside story of what goes on in your engineering. What sort of testing goes on there at GM with these particular engines?
So we run them on dynos early. We go through several different prototype build phases. So early on in the concept stage, we build engines, run them on dynos, put miles on them, get them to fail, figure out what the issues are. And before even that, we do everything analytically on the computer. But we run engine after engine, different build phases, and then finally get them into vehicles and run more miles. So by the time we get to production, there are millions of miles on these engines. So they're fully validated, fully developed, and ready to go.
Todd, I sure appreciate you taking the time to share this information about the new XT4 from the auto show there in New York. Thanks so much for your time today, and always great to have someone from GM to give us the inside scoop of what we can find at the showroom floor. Thanks again for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
All right, Bobby, thank you very much.
I think it's really interesting that what he's talked about. Folks, let me back up and recap, and then we'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. I see that Jerry is in the queue, and I'll go to you, Jerry, next. And folks, if you have a question, now's the time to get in versus wait to the last 10 minutes or 20 minutes of the show. 888-227-2546. I want to bring to your attention something that's very important. Todd mentioned sweet spot, and that's one of my favorite, as I said, one of my favorite terms. So a sweet spot would be, let's say that I'm 5'7.5". Let's say that I'm jogging with someone who's 6'5". Well, you can imagine I'm going to really have to run, and that person's just going to be trotting right along in his sweet spot or her sweet spot. So for me, my legs at normal trot, or even a horse at a gait, You watch that horse, and it's just a very comfortable place to be. An engine has a sweet spot, which means the engine's torque, not horsepower. Horsepower is wide open throttle, top speed. That's where horsepower comes in, which has little or nothing to do with MPG. And that's confusing for a lot of folks. Torque is the ability to twist the rear wheels from the engine, from the crankshaft to turn the rear wheels. That's torque. So torque means exactly that. So the earlier in RPM band you can get the torque to come on, its maximum deliverable, then the better the gas mileage. And I'll make that really easy for you too. This is why you have multi-speed transmissions. Let's say an engine liked its torque spot, well, this one that Todd said is 1,450 RPM, because I wrote that down, delivers 97% of its torque from 1,450 RPM to 5,000. Gasoline motors don't have any torque at 1,400 as a rule. Diesels, yeah. That's why we call them stump pullers, because you can pull a stump out of the ground with a diesel. Well, this is a stump puller in and of itself, and it's a gasoline motor. How do they do that? Well, they do that with turbochargers, because turbochargers are a way to cram more air and force more air into the top of the piston, and then it's mixed with gasoline, and the pressure from that larger amount of volume, because the little engine thinks it's a big engine. Because why? Because without the turbocharger, X amount of air would go into the cylinder and be compressed and push the piston down, turn the rear wheels. But when you force more air in that same engine in the length of time that the valve is open, then the little engine thinks it's a bigger engine. Why? Because there's more pressure on top of the piston. In fact, you could put so much pressure on top of the piston, you destroy the piston, or you push the head off the block. Torque, that's torque. That's real, raw, the ability to turn the rear wheels at a lower RPM. And if we can get that RPM lower at cruising speeds by shifting gears earlier. So here we got a car running 70 miles an hour in 9th gear, and the engine's turning, well, probably 1,500 RPM, run 75 miles an hour. 1,500, that's just, that's only 500 more than an idle speed. Really, it's the 7512, well, maybe 800 more than an idle speed. Yeah, it is. It's double the idling speed. So idles at 750 and it runs at 1,500 and it's running 75 miles an hour. How's that work? 30 miles per gallon. Think about it. The faster you can go, or the road speed at cruising speed, not the faster. Let's say a standard road speed, and the lower the RPM you can run that engine, the less fuel there takes. And if your engine is running 1,500 at 75 and mine is running 1,300 at 75, I'm using less fuel. If, and a big if, my engine's in the sweet spot. So there you have it. There's the secret, and that's what manufacturers are doing. Quite candidly, Ford Motor Company's EcoBoost, that was what made that engine so famous, is the fact that it has the twin turbos. Let's go to Kansas and take a call from Jerry, and then we'll take your calls. Hannah is standing by at 888 Car Clinic. I don't know why I say that. 888-227-2546. Jerry, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How are you today?
I'm good. The sun is shining, and it's nice weather here in Kansas.
Well, cool. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. What can I do for you?
2 or 3 weeks ago, you advertised a product that could take care of a cracked block or a cracked head or a leaky head gasket.
I did.
I've got a 94 Ford 460 that is old enough that is not worth putting a whole lot of repairs into, and was wondering what that product was.
The name of it's K-Seal, the letter K, Seal. And you can go to kseal.com for all the information, but it's a great product. You simply shake up the bottle and you pour it in the cooling system, follow directions, of course, on the label, and it will seal permanently cracks, head gasket failures, and the like. And you drive it, put it in and drive it, or let it idle. There are certain applications where if you had a break, it depends on how severe the leak is, that it would flow that product through the crack if you were to go out and race the engine or run 50 or 70 miles an hour. So the trick is to let an engine idle so that you have circulation of the coolant in the cooling system that carries the product through the block. And this is not silicate or that normal and other stop leaks use. It has a special mixture of fiber products that flow through the system, and that will include stopping the leak, and that's what I would do if I were you.
With a 460, is one bottle enough, or does that particular radiator have a bigger radiator with a 460, or capacity-wise, is one bottle enough?
Well, let's see. I happen to have a bottle. Believe it or not, I have 3 or 4 bottles of that I had in the studio here. This is a small bottle. I would use a standard, I think it's a 12-ounce bottle, but you can go to kseal.com for the particulars. But yeah, you poured the entire contents. You should not use 2 large bottles. Just use, there's a small bottle and a large bottle, and use the large bottle. Do you know if the block is cracked or if the cylinder head gasket is blown on this engine?
No, I do not. I had a guy scope it, and it was so dirty when he stuck the scope in.
Wow.
He really couldn't tell.
Okay. Use a regular bottle. Go to kseal.com.
Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have spare money for them. When a heater core starts to fail, it can be costly depending on location, maybe $1,000 even. When a heater core leaks, it usually comes on gradually with a smell of coolant and a film on the glass that keeps returning. Common leaks are the glued seals on the plastic tanks. This represents a perfect opportunity to use K-Seal, as it can be poured into the cooling system and driven right away. And K-Seal remains in the system, so it can prevent future leaks as well. We recently used K-Seal on a Honda to stop a heater core leak. We never experienced the smell of coolant, but we had to regularly clean the inside windshield glass to remove that film. It doesn't take more than a few drops from a leaking heater core to cause an unsafe film on the glass. After using K-Seal, it stopped. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. And she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website. A living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Just by speaking with Jerry and the commercials came up, so I had to let him go. But he had asked a question about a product that we talked about, K-Seal. And ironically, a K-Seal commercial ran, and folks, I didn't know that Jerry was going to call from Kansas. So just for you to know, thank you, Jerry, for calling. And Jerry has a 429 Ford engine, and he asked about the dosage. And their K-Seal comes in a couple sizes. It has an 8-ounce bottle and a 16-ounce bottle. The 16-ounce would be for buses and heavy-duty 16-cylinder engines and those sorts of things. But for the standard 8-cylinder engine, Jerry, if you're still tuned in, I'm sure you are, you can use the 8-ounce bottle of K-Seal, and that'll get the job done equally as well. And do follow the instructions, which I know is not our nature, ours being men. And you ladies, you got to love that. But I'm there. You know, it's not our nature to ask for directions or I'm literally trying to find somewhere, except for Siri, trying to find an address or to read the label of a product. So do read the label. That 8 ounces of K-Seal should take care of that head gasket or that cylinder problem on that 429 Ford, Jerry from Kansas, if you're still listening. Okay, folks, it's your turn. 888-227-2546. If you have a call or a question about your cars, the only dumb car question is the one not asked, so I'll remind you of that. You know, sometimes I wonder if the information that I provide on this program is really being understood or used to its fullest extent. And the reason that I say that is that yesterday, as I was joking with some of my customers, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, someone comes in, for instance, in our customer center, there were 6 or 7 folks, and it's a small area, so you put 6 or 7 folks in there, it gets a little crowded. And there was one doctor in there that had his Porsche in, and there was another customer that came in for a special priced oil change. And the doctor, I knew this ahead of time because he's a regular customer of ours, had asked my general manager if there were any deals. And they were just laughing because he drives a Porsche, you know. And so when I walked up and had all these folks in the customer center, I said hello to everyone and welcomed them, asked them if I could get them anything, you know, like eggs or ham or what have you. And so the doctor said, yeah, I'd like eggs Benedict. And I said, yeah, you and me both. And so it was really a lot of fun. And it was laid back and what have you. I said, oh, by the way, Dr. K, I said, we've got some specials. I said, but you're driving a Porsche, so there's no special for a Porsche today. And he just laughed. As it turned out, he had a tire issue, and we did not charge him. We just fixed it and let it go. And so it's kind of just always amazing that when we have, I don't know what that noise is. Ah, it is, yeah. Well, there you go. So the bottom line, we have, that's a very disrupting. That's what I get because I've got a Mac, an Apple. So on the floor is my big 27-inch Apple. And sure enough, someone called my cell, and my cell forwarded it to my Mac. So sorry about that. You probably didn't hear it, but I did. The bottom line, when you take your car in for service, you should have a conversation other than your car. Have a plain Jane conversation with the people that work on your car. And here's the bottom line. If they won't spend enough time to talk with you on a one-on-one, face-to-face, you know, if they say, okay, what's your problem? You know, what's your complaint? And let me write up the thing and turn your car over to the technician. That is not a relationship with a service shop, and that's not how relationships are built. I know you don't need us as friends. I know you don't not looking for a friend there unless your car is broken down. Then you want all the friends you can get. So I can tell you, if you really want to know how to get a deal on your car, and here's the deal, it's not spending less money. it's applying the money that you do spend in the right place to get the biggest bang for the buck. How many shop owners or how many shop service writers or general managers or service managers would ever take into consideration what your intentions are and what your needs are for the automobile? And furthermore, how many of you out there have ever really had a conversation and said, look, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'm a caregiver for my mom. And I say this because yesterday we had one of our customers that we had to take home because he couldn't spend the time that it would take to repair his vehicle here because he was a caregiver for his mom, which I have a lot of respect for. Been there, done that. So we took him home, and he had his challenges, and he didn't need the vehicle. We took care of the vehicle. We got this, we said. We got this. And Miss Jan, who, if you remember, has been, before Hannah, a screener here. She's been with me 19 years, and she's a comptroller, and she takes care of us and pays the bills and all those sorts of things. She works with a bunch of guys every day, 50 hours, 60 hours a week in our service shop. So she really does the jack of all trades, and we depend on her, and we value her. And she took this gentleman home, and she too was a caregiver for her mom. So when you may not be able to or want to share all that's going on, but there are certain things that as a service provider, your service shop needs to know, just like your doctor. I need to schedule this repair at a better time. I need for you to know that I'm here for you to check my car, but I don't have the time to fix my car today. But I do have and have set aside the time for you to perform tests and give me an overview of how long it's going to take, what's wrong with it, and how much money it's going to cost. So if you can't provide the communication to the service person, and if the service person is not willing to listen to you, choose another service shop. And that's like choosing another doctor. But I can tell you this, I've done it. We've all done it. It's called getting a second opinion. And that doesn't mean that you're second guessing the service shop or your first doctor. It just means that you don't have a rapport with a person. You get it? If you don't get it, then you're spending more money, or you're spending money that you don't know where it's going, or you're not as comfortable with the repair and maintenance of your automobile as you should be. And you should be, because if your vehicle is not in a shape or a position to where if you got a call at 2 a.m. in the morning that woke you up and a loved one in another state needed you, and you had to drive that night, that day, and leave in 30 minutes to get there or whenever, and because your car needed a set of tires, or your car needed a water pump, or your car, the check engine light was flashing and you didn't, flashing, not on, but flashing. Flashing is a no-go. Flashing, if your check engine light flashes, folks, you don't drive that car. You take it to a service shop immediately, but you stop and check coolant and water and oil and what have you. If your car's not in a condition where you could do that, then you're not a good car steward. Your car is not roadworthy. And if it's not roadworthy, it shouldn't be on the road. That means its brakes could be bad. That means that your car could run into my car. I wouldn't like that. It wouldn't be your fault. Well, sort of. I guess it would be if you're the caretaker for the car. So I said all this not to degrade or demean or anything. I just to bring you to the point that you need to be to understand what it takes to fix your automobile. And that doesn't mean that you can take your car in to a service shop and has this been a good car? Yeah, it's been a great car. I've got 135,000 miles on this car, Bobby. Never had it in the shop. Really? Well, you can drive the new off the car, but you will have to pay and put the new back on the car. Or you'll have to trade it and buy a new car or a new used car. Either way, you pay as you go. And to that end, that's where not autonomous, but that's where rental cars are coming in, which are Lyfts or Uber. It's where our Maven. I don't know if you've heard about Maven. I haven't talked about Maven in I don't know 6 months, but Maven is a GM sponsored and owned rental, where if you get a gig for delivering groceries and you don't have a decent car, you just rent one, and you can rent one that comes with the insurance. And you can rent an electric and just plug it in. So really, it's a great way for you to have a new car with insurance, and maybe you can't afford to buy a new car. But it is a great way for you to provide a service and make money, and then you pay a portion of the money that you make for the car. It's called, overhead. But it's a lot cheaper than buying a car, and especially if this gig may not be forever. It may be something that you're going to try. So, and I hadn't even thought about that in some time. But so I said all that to try to share with you what's going on with the industry that can help you to take advantage of what your money can buy. Another example, the products and services that I endorse. And one product is Motorrad. Motorrad, well, that's motors and radiators. So it's short, MOTORAD, motorradusa.com. That's a company that provides thermostats and radiator caps enclosures for 98% of the cars on the road. And also, that's the makers of, if you've heard of this, what's called a fail-safe thermostat. That's a thermostat that when it reaches a certain temperature that exceeds what is normal, it locks open. So that thermostat automatically is the same as taking the thermostat out. And I don't recommend you take a thermostat out of an engine, because you need the thermostat to bring the engine up to operating temperature. But in the case of an engine that's overheating, that's the first thing that probably 95% of you do out there. And you have to do what you have to do to get yourself to a service shop. So even if the thermostat's not the problem, if you use a Motorrad fail-safe thermostat, that thermostat will lock open, and that means that your car will travel a farther distance before it overheats, even if it has a problem internally. Does it make sense? It's the same thing as taking it out. Anyway, it's a really cool design. It's exclusive, and it's patented by Motorrad. It's 100% tested and calibrated and manufactured with the highest quality materials from a supplier that supplies the original equipment manufacturer, the OEMs. It's a great product. It's one that I use and that I endorse, and it's called Motorrad. For more information, go to motorradusa.com. I do want to welcome again our new affiliate, and I'm next week, this afternoon, when you hear this program, you'll be hearing this program, but it'll be too late to call in. So just know that next Saturday you could call me. So all you folks from Center, Texas, just tuned in there at KDET 930 AM there in Center, Texas. From 10 till noon Eastern Time, you can reach me live at 888-227-2546 or 888-CAR Clinic. 888-CAR Clinic every Saturday from noon. Gas prices are higher than they were this time last year, and gas prices are higher than they were this time last week in every region of the country. I'll share that with you so that if your car is not getting the gas mileage that it used to get, maybe it's time for you to get it checked out. I hesitate to use and will not use the words tune-up, because by and large, folks, there's no such thing as a tune-up on today's automobile. A tune-up years ago meant plugs and points and condensers and what have you. In fact, I bought a 1975 Mercedes in 1976 from a gentleman, and I called to inquire about this. You'll get a kick out of this on the phone. He said, "Oh yeah, this car is in great shape. You know, it's got 24,000 miles on it, and it's got all new, You know, they went through the engine. It's all been updated and everything. You know, new engine, everything. I said, really? And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. It's a 18-month-old car with 24,000 miles, and they had to have an engine put in. Well, that meant I didn't want to buy it, you know. And I said, well, what did it cost you? What did they do? Oh, he said it was $276. Well, I said, well, now this person had no knowledge of automobiles, obviously. Come to find out, I said, well, what did they do? Oh, they put in new plugs and new points and new condenser and new oil and filters. True story. I bought this car. It was a 450 SEL Mercedes that had 24,000 miles on it, and I bought it in '76. And I bought it in Las Vegas, Nevada, while I was there on vacation. I thought it was really interesting. I kept the car 10 years, and I sold it to one of my customers who kept it another 10 years. And probably still to this day, it's still going. It was a really great car. It was a 450, 4.5 liter Mercedes engine with a solid lifter, solid roller camshaft, and it had a propensity to wear the lobes too, as we found out, until I learned that synthetic oil was the trick. So that's how early on we got into synthetic oils. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. I hope that you've enjoyed this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, and just know that next Saturday we'll be with you from 10 to noon Eastern Time, and every Saturday right here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You can download this program at iTunes and go to youtube.com/Bobby Likis. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Today's question: what makes up your engine's cooling system? The cooling system is a part of the engine that regulates engine temperature and helps prevent breakdown from overheating. A typical cooling system is comprised of the engine's water jacket, a thermostat to regulate flow, a water pump, a radiator that exchanges the heat to the outside air, and the connecting hoses and tubes. The cooling system is designed to remove excess heat to keep the inside of the engine at an efficient operating temperature, approximately 201 degrees Fahrenheit. The cooling system has one major purpose: to ensure that the circulation of the coolant inside the engine can absorb and release heat. The proper mixture of coolant coupled with a high-quality thermostat are critical to cooling system operation. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and closure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle, on the road or off, leading the way in coverage and service. For more details, go to motorradusa.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning, happy morning, your name